Hey everyone, it's Utsev. I am super excited to share with you the build of my first Alice-style keyboard using Keychron's Q8. It's an evolution of the original TGR Alice layout that adds arrow keys and a rotary knob, and also updates the positioning of the modifier keys. In today's video, I'll show you how I built this board and my continued misadventures in stabilizer land. There are also sound and typing tests toward the end, along with a comparison with my Q1 build. When I first came across the Alice layout, I was immediately drawn to its ergonomic design. Having already been impressed by Keychron's other offerings, I jumped on the Q8 when it was announced. I was also curious what a factory-supplied tape mod would be like. Unlike with the Q1, this time I opted for the barebones version, as I wanted to assemble the board completely from scratch. Inside the box you'll find the usual bits and bobs: a user manual, an instructional card to ensure you don't mess up your switch alignment, a color-matched USB-C cable with a USB-C to USB-A adapter, spare gaskets, screws and feet, and a quick start guide. At the bottom are all the tools you'll need: a keycap puller, a screwdriver, an Allen key, and a switch puller. And finally, the board itself. Like my Q1, it feels exceptionally well made. I was a bit surprised to find that even the barebones version is pre-assembled. The bottom housing is essentially ready to go, which makes it great for beginners who simply want to install their switches and keycaps and get on with life. Before taking apart the bottom assembly, I checked the case for resonance. Though muted, there definitely was an audible ping. Although I didn't know if that was due to the case or the contact between the top and bottom housing, I decided to implement a force break mod anyway. The factory installed tape mod is very clean, leaving only the portion of the PCB immediately underneath the rotary knob exposed. A steel plate ships with the board pre-installed, though you can purchase brass FR4 and PC plates as add-on options. Because the factory stabs in my Q1 sounded decent, at least to my untrained ears, I assumed the same would be true for the Q8, so I decided to install just the switches and keycaps to see what the board sounded like stock. After I was done with the switches, it occurred to me that I'd better check, and I was horrified at what I heard when I installed the left shift key. Good thing I don't have audio of it, as I wouldn't want to subject you to that experience. Since I needed to open everything up to mod the stabs, I figured I may as well install some case and plate foam. For the case, I initially thought of using some sorbothane I have lying around, but as it appeared too thick, I opted for PE foam instead. You can buy this pretty cheaply by the roll at any DIY store, but here I'm upcycling some from a stack I've accumulated from various shipments over time. After cutting everything to size to both fit this board's distinctive layout as well as to leave gaps in all the right places, it was time to separate the plate and PCB. The factory tape mod peels off quite easily. I removed and cleaned the stock stabs, and then installed the KBD fan stabilizer pads. Yes, the very same ones that gave me so much trouble during my Q1 build, but I figured I'd give them another go. If you want to learn more about what happened there, I've added a link to that video in the top right and in the description. After lubing the stock stabs, I also added a thin layer of PE foam between the PCB and plate. This was a lot more involved than the case foam, because I needed to leave cutouts for the stabilizer and plate mount screws. Once that was done, I also added the force break mod to address the slight resonance that I perceived between the top and bottom housing earlier. No prizes for guessing that I once again had problems with the stabs not coming up after the down press. I was pissed, so I immediately peeled off the KBD fan stabilizer pads, but in the end, it turned out that I'd overlooped the stab wires. After 2 rounds of wiping off the excess Permatex, everything sounded pretty good, so I reassembled the board. Let's get on to the sound test, shall we? Overall, I'm really happy with how this board turned out, both visually and sonically. I've enjoyed typing on it over the past week, much more so than my Q1. The only minor nitpick I have is with the positioning of the layout switch, which is centered at the top of the board. I would have preferred the layout switch to be at the top left of the board like on my Q1, or even better, on the left side like on the K6, as it makes it that much easier to reach. I'll leave you with a typing sound comparison between this Q8 and my Q1. Please help me to grow this channel by dropping a like if you enjoyed this video, smashing subscribe if you want to see more content from me, and turn on notifications. And as always, thank you for watching.